Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. You're looking live at PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank Sean Kelly, voice of the Gators, for kicking off the program with our introduction. Today is a Gator Bait Media Buddy Martin show here on a Tuesday morning, about 9 days away from the Mighty Gators, going out to where I am right now. I'm skiing in the summertime at Park City. Good morning, buddy. How you doing, my man?
Good morning, Shane. How are you, my friend? Like my new hat, Shane, by the way.
I do. Looks good.
You know where I got it from, don't you, Shane?
Some guy.
Yeah,
some guy.
Yeah. So, I just want to say I want to be the first one to report and check in on this. I just watched the first 15 minutes of the Netflix special. The much, shall we say, let's just say somewhat controversial, well-publicized special, the first of four, featuring the 2008 Gators. And it's pretty intense, the first 15 minutes. I think Gator fans will like it, except probably won't like Feinbaum being on there so much. But he does a good job. So I'm watching. I'll let you know how it turns out.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to give me so it came out, I guess, this morning at an early time, so a lot of our listeners may have watched it. Do you know how many episodes and how long is each episode, buddy?
There are 4 episodes, an hour each, I believe. And I'm not sure the schedule. I guess I'll go 4 weeks in a row. I don't know. It's called Untold. If you have Netflix, if you don't, go to somebody's house or sign up for it, whatever, to get it. And it's going to be at least a very interesting 4-part series. Now, so far from what I've seen, way too early to make judgments. It's not sugar-coated, but it's very much, Shane, what happens inside of a football team really happens. And I can say this unequivocally on this team because I was in the locker room with them when I wrote this book. And so I spent some time around what was real. And Shane, you know what it's like in a locker room. It's crazy, you know. And they showed mat drills. They showed some stuff that ordinary fans don't get to see. They'll say, man, that's brutal. Well, you know what? Guess what, Shane? It's a brutal game, isn't it?
Yeah. It's nuts. I mean, I won't be able to watch it unless, as you said, I go to somebody's house. I haven't watched anything in my entire life on Netflix. How about that, buddy?
Shane, you're having a sheltered life. I'm going to have to work on you. There's some things you need to see, like great movies, documentaries.
Yeah, I know. I'll do that when I have time to sit down and ain't got nothing going on.
Well, okay, but you're part of it. You can't. It's about your life too. And I like this. Looks like a good job of storytelling. I think.
Good.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Andy says Grant Holloway's now a 3-time world champion in the 110 hurdles. Congratulations to Grant. I can't keep up with track. I never know when it's going on or what have you. Buddy, we got a bunch of texts that came through overnight. We're going to get to them here.
Okay.
Real quick before we jump into that, I just want to get your thoughts. Obviously, we're 9 days away from Florida going out to Utah. What you're feeling right now? I mean, obviously, it's getting closer, and usually fan bases, as it gets closer to the season, they all jump on board because you know they've been bitching and complaining or celebrating too much, but now it's time to kick it off. What's Buddy Martin? How do you feel about this team, even though you know nothing about them, going into game 1 against Utah?
Talking season's over and playing season's starting, and I love it, and you do too. Shane, you have no pulse. You have the lowest heartbeat of anybody I know, and you played that way. That's why you're always so calm and cool under pressure. But those of us who are not, it gets a little intense. This is a really interesting season. I was thinking about this morning when I got up So I know you're going to ask me about it. And I'm thinking, do I feel like it's been a little bit blunted by some of the injury news lately? Maybe. Do I think depth could be a problem? Yes, I do. Do I think this team is better than what we think they might be? Well, I don't know. I take the word of people like you and those who have seen practice and player interviews I've watched and stories I've followed every day. I feel like this team could be decent. Now, you're all the way up to 8 or 9 wins. I'm not there, but I've gone in my circle of people on my show, 4 of us. I went to 7.5 wins. That's the highest anybody went, by the way. So the bandwagon jumpers are going to go on and off, on and off. I will say this is going to be an interesting season, and I would heed people stop playing 2024. You don't have the number 3 class yet. Enjoy the ride now, because a season like this, Shane, if you do win the 8 or as you said, possibly 9 games, it's a joyful time. It's an accomplishment because they've been counted out, disrespected, not given any chance whatsoever, basically 5.5 games. I mean, if you can't play the disrespect card now, you can never play it. A coach like Billy knows how to do that. And I think that will be a big factor. If they don't get done in by injuries, and if the quarterback is everything that you say is, Mertz, even with the injury they had with their running back this past couple of days, this team's got a chance. And Shane, the ball bounces funny ways sometimes, all right? And as we've said before, I'm giving you a longer answer than you wanted. Just get a few stops on 3rd down. Now, if you just get a few and the turnover battle, I think they'll do better on turnovers. There seems to be more of an awareness of it. I think they'll get some picks in the secondary. I didn't like the way they played. They played soft. I like the press coverage. I just like a lot of things about what I'm hearing and seeing. And above all, if Mertz plays as well as we think he might, and the running backs are solid, don't get injured, you keep saying it, and you got me convinced these 3 freshman wide receivers could be something to behold.
Yeah.
You get that kind of thing going, Shane, stuff happens.
Break this year with Florida football is the front 7 on defense. I like what Austin Armstrong brings to the table, and they brought in some good transfers. So we'll see what happens. We got a text here on the Titan of our text line, and it's from our anonymous listener in the 904 area code up in the Jacksonville area. He says, did you happen to read Culture Shock, Inside the Florida Gators Implosion under Dan Mullen by Neil Schulman?
Yeah.
Wow, what a story. I did not. Did you read that, buddy?
Yeah, I read it. I read about 90% of it. And I know Neil. He did a really good job of trying to encapsulate what happened with Mullen. There's no shockers in it. Some players are quoted about it, how bad their defensive coordinator was, Grantham, and how he disrespected the players. There's stories. Look, you can go to any, and I'm not dismissing Neil's work. He does a good job, and I think you'll find it interesting. There's nothing revelatory, if that's a word, in it that you and I wouldn't already kind of know. The big story is what happened to Dan Mullen. I think he bounced around it and wrote about it, but could never, as we can, nail it. What did go wrong? Because he did go from good to bad, Shane, in a hurry. Mm-hmm. We don't know if he threw in the towel. We don't know if he got nailed. We know he got nailed on show calls for recruiting. Something changed dramatically, and I've not been able to find that out. Now, Neil was all around it. He did a good job. It's an interesting read. You guys will like it, but nothing in there surprises or shocks me.
Okay. I have not read it. So we got another text here we got a bunch for you, buddy. These people love some Buddy Martin.
Oh, they want to beat me up, Shane. I know they want to beat me up. Come on.
I haven't read them.
Let's go.
I'm going to read them here. I'm not going to.
Let's go. I'm ready for a fight this morning. Let's go.
Well, this first one's not a fight. It just says James from Germantown, Tennessee. He says, buddy, who's the greatest athlete you've ever covered and who's the greatest football player you ever covered at the University of Florida?
Oh, man. I could spend an hour here, but, you got to go with Tebow and Percy as the football players. I have others I think were great and underrated. The greatest athlete, I'd have to go back to the Olympics, Shane. I've seen some great ones. I've covered a couple of Olympics. I don't know what the word athlete means per se. I don't know. I never saw Jim Thorpe. He must have been amazing. I've seen great players like Jim Brown, who I think is the greatest football player I ever saw. I stick to that. I've seen wonderful baseball players. It would be really hard for me to say one, Shane. It really would be. There's some players I've loved at Florida who you'd not say were the greatest. I loved Carlos Alvarez. He stood for so much good. He was such a great player and athlete, competitor. I just thought he was fantastic. And then I could go on to others like people you never heard of, Larry Dupree, who Tommy Shannon says is still the greatest football player I ever saw at Florida. But there's so many good ones, and you got to go with Tebow and that bunch. So let me just think about that before I stick my
Yeah, I mean that's
mouth,
a question that's very difficult to answer. Just got another text here on the Titan More text line from our good friend in the 386 area code. This is great. He says he was watching a Utah Utes podcast last night, and their three keys to the game were: 1, run the ball; 2, pass the ball; 3, score points.
That's boiling it down.
He goes, it's brilliant. Billy should steal this. Yeah.
Well, the 7 maxims, don't you, from Tennessee, from England. Those are things that the coaches have written down for centuries, it seems like. They go to the board and write them down. It's the same old thing, turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. And it's probably the most famous coach talk that there is. And I've talked to Dickie about this and others. I think every coach I ever knew wrote them down for years. And 7 maxims, kicking game, et cetera, et cetera. It'd be a show sometime to come with all those things that coaches say.
Another text on the Titan More text line for you, buddy, and me, from Brad in Kansas. He says, buddy and Shane, love the show. What are y'all's thoughts on the Netflix series Swamp Kings?
Okay.
Well, I have not seen it. I know a lot of media people got to see it beforehand.
Yeah.
I did not. Again, I don't have Netflix, don't care to get it. But you kind of mentioned it earlier that you saw 15 minutes of it
15 minutes this morning of it. I know a couple of guys watched it. I didn't. I'm going to go back and watch it now, and I'll talk about it on my show tonight. It's getting pretty good reviews. I would say this, as I said earlier, the first 15 minutes, I speak only that right now, folks. I don't know. I have a pretty good and working knowledge of this team since I was inside this program for a full year with Urban. I wrote his book in the locker room, whatever. And I will say that the intensity is something you'll pick up on right away. If you got a kid at the house, you want to cover their ears. There's a language you might not like. But it's not just to glorify Florida football. It's Florida football works it all under Urban. We do have Urban on Friday on the show, our first of our best Fridays in football. We'll talk with him about it. I know he was disagreeing with people who said it was a hit job and made Florida football look bad. He says it's just about what happened inside a team. Shane, you inside these teams. What is the reality of what went on and what the perception of the fans is? What would you say? I mean, everything that happens in the locker room, Spurrier era, etc. Things that go on out there that we never know about out here in the real world.
Yeah, that happens in all locker rooms. Let me, buddy, who's making money off this Swamp Kings? Do the players get money or just the person?
No, I think it's just Netflix making it, as far as I know.
Okay. Text on the Titan More text line from Craig. He says, buddy, have you heard any new news about the renovation of the Swamp?
I have not, and I wouldn't say concerned, but I want to know more about it. I'm sure that Scott Strickland's got it close to his vest, and he's really going to be careful with this. And we kid about it, please don't screw up the Swamp. Where's that T-shirt, Shane? Don't screw with the Swamp.
What was this T-shirt supposed to say?
I think we said don't screw around with the Swamp, right?
Don't mess with the Swamp.
No, don't mess with the Swamp. Yeah, I don't think they will. If they should ever, let's just be honest. If Scott Strickland got fired or left, and some dude came in here and started moving the stadium out 4 more miles. I got a major problem by that dude because you got a choice arena, one of the most famous sports arenas in the world. They said, well, that's only if nothing else works out. Well, they got to work it out. I think it'll stay there. I think it'll have a lot more sky boxes. I think they'll drop down. I don't know how many, Shane, maybe to 75, 78. I don't know, 80, whatever. 80 would be too much smaller than it is now. And they'd have better seats and better facilities and better amenities. And by the way, they're going to raise the prices.
Yeah. Ruzoga State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speak with Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show and Gator Bait Media here on the Titan Memorial Hotline. I want to give a shout out to one of our new sponsors, F45 Training. They're on board. They want me to come do a month of classes, buddy. I don't know if I can do it, but I may try it.
Why don't you go do it and I'll come join the class?
You going to come do it too?
I'm not promising, okay? I get my back surgery, maybe I will.
Yeah, that's funny. Real quick on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Joseph says, Urban, I wish this thing would quit moving. He said, Urban called Siler's parents to come have a meeting about his drinking, and his parents showed up drunk and told Urban, you ain't in Utah anymore. You're here to win a national championship. Have you seen that part of the show?
I have not.
Yeah.
I have not.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, here we go, buddy. More questions for you on the Titan Tomorrow text line. This is a good one. Roger says, buddy, do you have any plans to write any more books?
I have plans. I have about 3 books I'd like to write before they put me in the ground. I'd like to write something that's not a Florida Gator football book, because despite the fact that I do love it and have written about it and have a company called Gator Bait, there are things in my life that are beyond Gator football that are also important to me. And I would say, just off the top of my head, what I'd like to write is I'd like to do something like, okay, I'll go ahead and say it. I probably shouldn't. But I think I'd like if I do write an autobiography, I'd like to write Buddy Martin's Pick Six, the half dozen people who had the most influence in my life. And there's some interesting people. Some of them are football, some of them are not. And I would like to dig down deep on those people that I've known, been blessed to know really well, and write about them, what they meant to me and how they influenced my life. One of them is a professor at the University of Florida, by the way, or was.
Interesting. I was going to ask you this because obviously things have changed a little bit in your profession. But if you could like have a sit down 20, 30-minute interview with somebody on the Florida Gator football team this year, who would it be, buddy?
Billy Napier.
Well, I said a player. I mean, a player.
Well, you said somebody. You didn't say a player.
Okay, let's say player.
Well, it's a little early, but I'm thinking Graham Mertz, maybe. I don't know off the bat who else. Maybe Ricky Pearsall. I just think Mertz is a very smart guy. There's got to be a reason they keep talking about what a great prospect he is. That he was a 5-star. And everybody now is coming out saying he's a top 10er. They're joining your bandwagon. I think probably Mertz will be my choice.
Yeah. Another text on the Titan More text line from Jonathan. He says, does the altitude in Salt Lake City give you guys any concern?
Well, do we have to say this again, Shane? How many times?
Well, he may not have chimed in yesterday. I talked about it, that the Gators are going out on a normal road trip the day before the game. There's nothing you can do to prepare for it unless you're out there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Shane, what? You didn't get the bulletin? They're leaving early a week.
That's right. Somebody said they were leaving like tomorrow.
You said, I'm in trouble because I was supposed to be on that plane, right?
That's right. So, no, I don't think there's any concern. I mean, can there be a little bit? Yes, but I feel like it's worse. Heat and humidity's got to be worse than altitude. I don't know. You've lived in the mountains, buddy. What's worse?
Well, I think if you're not used to it, probably the heat.
Yeah. Because
the altitude, while it will gas you a little bit if you're not, you run upstairs and stuff like that, or if you run, a lot and run fast, the heat can just completely wipe you out and take you out of the game. and the humidity. If you haven't been in the swamp, I mean, I pity these poor. You used to get these Big Ten teams down here and early in the season in September, and they were gassed by halftime. And so I'd say that it's worse, but I think the altitude could be a little bit of a factor, but I don't think he'll be a factor in this game.
Yeah. Just want to let everybody know for tomorrow's program, I'll have JC on. We'll do our Peachland Dental picks, but we'll
What's wrong with you and JC, Lid? You guys are fighting like married couples.
No, he just likes to, he's very opinionated, and I just let him yell and scream, and I just say a few words back to him here and there.
You gave him a couple of pops the other day, man. You didn't really. You didn't.
We're going to have Fletcher Westfall, who's a big offensive lineman commit to the Gators, will be joining us tomorrow in the second portion of.
I like JC, by the way. Don't beat him up like that.
I don't beat him up. He beats himself up. Asa on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mullen Law, says, and there it goes away. Let me find it again. He says, people keep asking about the altitude in Salt Lake City. Delta flies in and out of there, and it's a hub. It's very easy to get to, like you keep saying. We can go another 3,000 feet to Park City, ski for 3 or 4 days, and never feel any effects.
You ever been there? You've been out there, right?
I have not. I mean, I've flown through there.
Yeah.
I've not been to Park City. I will be at
Park City's got some nice tracks. I played golf up there several times.
I will be playing up there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay. Well, you'll enjoy it. Elevation, brother. Elevation.
Mm-hmm. James says, I think the altitude is worse on unconditioned people.
What do you mean? You think it's not? You think the heat is not bad on you? The big fat guys? My gosh! I mean, have you seen those guys gassed out at 350 pounds when it's 110 degrees?
Yeah. All right, buddy. We've got another text here on the Titan More text line. It's from, who is this from? Sheila. My glasses are getting worse. Sheila in Destin says, does Billy Napier remind you of any other coaches that you have covered in your career?
He reminds me of a composite of a lot of coaches I've known, but no one person. And I must say, I don't know him as well as I've known coaches in the past. I've known, of course, I know Coach Spurrier and Coach Meyer real well did. But I like what I see of him. And I don't know if this will translate into wins. I think he's got great character, in my opinion. Now, we build up coaches and make them gods, and we're wrong to do that. And when they do something wrong, we get disappointed. I think Billy's sound, really. I think he's sound on football. He's sound in life. I loved his value system he outlined again the other day. I think if this guy gets a chance, again, if he can survive, we're looking at 10, 12 years of Billy Napier here, and a guy who can win and hopefully win consistently. And look, he drew a hand that wasn't the greatest in the world, okay? And so he's had, like every coach has to do, you got to sort it out, get your people, whatever. If he turns his program around by 2024, there's going to be some happy people here. And by the way, Shane will be the first one in line to say, we told you so. We told you.
I'm rooting for the guy. I like him, man. He's a good dude, and I think he's a good football coach. And it's taken longer than we think. I mean, it's been 1 year, but I think I'm on board this year. I'm on board. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
No, stop saying that. Just say you're on board. You ain't got to apologize. Could be wrong.
Well,
of course, you could be wrong. You're in the prediction business. That's what you do.
That's right. Larry on the Titan MR text line says, buddy, just curious. Why did you not change the name of Gator Bait? Were you asked to change it? Okay. By the way, I'm glad you didn't. Keep up the good work.
I am. But who asked that question?
Larry. I don't know what.
Go ahead.
Larry's from 941 area code. Where's that?
Well, it could be part of Charlotte County where I used to live, probably Sarasota.
Yeah.
Let me say this. Should I have 30 seconds to explain this? Because it's kind of.
You got plenty of time.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. I bought the company, as you know, was around for 45 years. And for those who don't know, when Shane played, when you ran on the field on the opposing team, there was a loud roar, Gator Bait, Gator Bait. It was a thing since I've been following Florida football for 100 years. It was a thing. And then one day, somebody, and I hope I don't offend anybody, dredged up a story and said, well, this is an old thing. It comes from the culture of racism. This is what these white people did with black babies, and they threw them out on a rope and tried to catch alligators. I mean, okay, what a crock. But, okay, I can't prove it didn't happen, but apparently it convinced the president of the University of Florida it was racist. And so they banned the cheer, Gator Bait. So I had a decision to make. What do I do? This company's been around for a long time. As far as that, so I talked to a couple of my real good African American friends about it. I said, "Help me. Am I not seeing this? Am I blinded by something? What do we need to do here?" And they both said, "Well, if we had our brothers, we probably would rather you change it. But if you don't, we got no problem with it because we know you, buddy. We know you're not a racist, you know. And if you go with it, that's fine." And they gave me their endorsement. The last thing I want to say was somebody you know quite well did a poll of fans. Of course, let's be honest, most of our fans and readers are older, middle age, white, whatever you want to call it. But the poll was taken about, do you want to change the name? Yes or no? 98% of the people said, no, don't change it. Well, I wasn't going to unless it was just a disaster, but I was willing to ask the question. And the answers that came back were no. And so I said, no, we're not changing it. So that's what we're doing.
And I'm glad you did, because I think it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Has nothing to do with racism. And I'm sure many of the black fans, the black athletes, they love the Gator Bait chant. Asa on Facebook Live says, I'm sold on Napier as a recruiter, but why is he so stubborn as not to get an OC? Even Hugh Freeze picked up an OC. Hugh Freeze gave a guy a title to be the OC. Hugh Freeze will be calling the plays. That's what a lot of people do. They give a title. But again, you got to remember, Billy Napier got hired to be the coach at Florida because of how he coached, and he was calling those plays. It would be very similar to Steve Spurrier not calling plays. So
who's the greatest play caller in Florida football history, James?
Well, it's not even close.
Yeah,
close.
And he was the head coach.
I mean, even think about when was and didn't he say like John Hevesy and Billy Gonzalez co-coordinators or something? All that is the title to pay that person more money.
Yeah. All right. Let me just say this. This I can tell you firsthand. You know a lot about locker rooms. I know a little bit about this because I was privileged to be on the headset, Shane, for 1 year. I heard every conversation of every coach under Urban. All right. Urban was the ultimate. But you know who did go up against him a lot? Mullen. I heard Mullen challenge him. I remember the FSU game when Urban said, let's just run the football. It was raining. It was really messy. Let's just, let's be conservative. Let's don't throw it. And Mullen said to his credit, no, let's run our offense. He really fought him. And so Mullen really did influence the decisions of Urban and made him a better play caller. But there's never been anybody like Steve Spurrier. I mean, period.
No, but my point to the story is just because actually our offensive coordinator here, I believe, is Rob Sale, the offensive line coach. I think he has that title.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's a title. There is no way in the world Hugh Freeze is not calling plays.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Shane, look at your pro career when you didn't call plays earlier in the year, and then they gave you the assignment. And I don't know what your title was, but you were calling plays in the last half, and you guys started scoring and making yards.
Real quick, it says on here, this is regarding the Gator Bait discussion. Dan said there's a push by Bob that endorsed the Redskins to bring that back. I sure hope they do. There's a good chance the Redskins will be called the Redskins again. Buck says, I wonder if Jimbo's going to let Petrino call the shot. He is. That's different because you have a former head coach that has a track record of being one of probably the top 5, maybe top 3 play callers in football.
He was terrific.
He that's a different story. But
he was hired just for that job. He was hired to call.
I mean, anyway, I made my point on that. So this is from Sam on the Titan MR text line. Says, buddy, so when you watch the Gators on TV, do you tune into the TV guys or do you tune in to Sean and Shane?
I do Sean and Shane mostly. Every now and then I want to hear what the national guys are saying, and they don't have the knowledge. They do an okay job. I'm not a hater of the broadcasters. I don't like people to do that. But no, when I really want to get a big game, I'm a Sean and Shane guy.
Realized this until I saw a commercial the other day, and maybe it was it was while I was watching golf on CBS. I forgot that the Big Ten is taking over the 3:30 spot. Did you know? Do you know that was this year, buddy?
I
I thought it
forgot
was
about it
next
too.
year.
I thought it was next year. You're right.
It's this year.
It is. Wow.
So that the little theme song is no longer part of the Southeastern
Huh.
Conference.
I'll be darned.
Yep.
Yeah, Gary Danielson is gone, and Brad Nessler. I didn't hate them like a lot of people did.
No, I thought they were very good. Gary says on the Titan Mark text line, buddy, were you surprised that the Colts didn't play AR in his second preseason game?
A little bit, but I think he had been due to injury, Shane.
You think he's hurt?
Well, he got a little ding, remember? He got a little ding. I would say he's something. But he's going to start. He's going to play the third game, right? So why do you think he didn't start?
I have no idea. I mean, Pat Mahomes played over a half.
I think he might have had a little bit of a ding. Now, I read a quote, which I don't understand. They said the Bears defensive coordinator, they was very aggressive, and they kind of stuck defense they played. They worried a little bit about, who did I read that from? Somebody worried a little bit about him getting hurt against the Bears. So I don't know the answer to that. But was I surprised? A little bit, yeah.
Van Der says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, when you get a bunch of white guys together, you will always turn a blind eye to racism.
Well, that's probably true.
I disagree with that.
Well, it's true, though, Shane, of any group, okay? And you can be any group if they're not like, I mean, look, I hate to keep invoking Urban Meyer. When he went to Bowling Green, he looked up at a meeting. There's a group of black guys. There's a group of Mormons. There's a group of Hispanics. There's a group of 5, 6 different groups of people. And he says, okay, time out. That's it. We're not sitting like this anymore. Mix it up, And it's just group think. It's kind of what we are. I don't like to use the word racism, but you want to say that, fine. Of course, we are more disposed to our own culture. And of course, we want to be around people like us. And of course, sometimes that excludes the other group. This is not rocket science, folks. It's been around since the beginning of man and will be around. The question is, how do you handle it? That's the question.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's referring to the gator bait being banned, but again, like I said, that had been going on for hundreds of years.
Yes,
or however long the University of Florida's been here.
What was the point? What did it do? Tell me that. What did it do?
Doesn't. It's a great part of the tradition. It has zero to do with racism. Zero.
Made me a little more aware of it. That I realized I need to know more about it. That's why I asked my 2 black friends about it. Maybe it did enlighten me a little bit. That's fine. But to make accusations and go back in history and say something like that without any evidence of it, except it was sort of a quote unquote wives' tale, no documented cases of it. Based on that, I think the president of the University of Florida was very knee jerk in that decision.
Okay, so Larry corrected us. He says the SEC still has the 3:30 slot this year.
Well, I thought they did.
South Carolina.
I thought they did too.
I don't know why I thought that the Big Ten was taking over the 3:30 spot. I could have sworn I saw a commercial saying that. Maybe not. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. And JC and I will do some picks. They got the Tour Championship this weekend in Atlanta.
Shane, wait, you nailed the pick last week, right?
Didn't I did.
Hoffman? Yeah.
Vic Hovland golfed his ball as well as anybody I've ever seen, buddy.
61? What? Oh, it's crazy.
I mean, I saw the shot making between Vic Hovland, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Scotty Scheffler was just unbelievable this past week.
I turned it off and didn't see it at the end, but
Hovland, it was incredible.
You called it, buddy. Good job. Congratulations. JC
so
owes a lot of money.
I know. Text on the Titan MR text line from Chad, who lives in the 937 area code, wherever that is.
Wow, 937.
Where's that at, buddy? You got any idea?
No idea.
Never even seen a 937.
No.
He says, Shane, he says, did you see Joel Klatt ranked as top 10 QBs going into the season? Mertz was number 10.
Yes, I did. And that's what I was talking about earlier when some of these guys are starting coming around. He picked him on the top 10 quarterback. It's funny, Gator fans think he's not in the top 100. And here's a guy.
Here's what I like to say, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, buddy, but
it's all right. It's your show.
It's but think about Jaden Daniels. A lot of people think Jaden Daniels is one of the top quarterbacks, if not the top quarterback.
I would say so.
Okay, well, Jaden Daniels was not very good at Arizona State. Okay.
Okay.
And he came in here. I was not impressed with him week 1 against Florida State. He could hardly complete a pass. They were fortunate to win that game. So look, you got to just open your mind up and let the kid go play and then make a decision. Dan says Ohio. That's Ohio.
Yeah,
not the
it is
1970.
Ohio. I'm looking at it right now. Dayton and Springfield.
Okay, awesome. So Joel Klatt has him ranked number 10. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think he's going to be top tier in the league. We got what, 14 teams in the league, or do we have 16? I can't even keep.
No, 14, 16 next
14.
year. You got to get your years. You get your years all screwed up.
I lose track, buddy, but I think he'll definitely be in the top echelon of the SEC in quarterback play this year.
What does that mean? How many touchdown passes?
It just means he's going to be a solid quartherback.
You're going to have to give me more than that. Next week, I'm going to ask you how many touchdowns, how many picks, how many yards, lengths of his.
Here's the thing.
Hey, you're the color man for the Gator Network.
Right.
You got to do this.
Right, but he could throw for 15 touchdowns and we could win 9 games because he could easily throw 3 or 4 balls to get the guy gets tackled on the 3 and then we run it in. So statistically, I'm not worried about it. I coach you. For us to have the year we want to have, it's that front 7 on defense.
All right, but you're not getting off that easy. You're going to give me specifics next week, Shane, on my show. I want to know touchdown passes, yards per throw, etc. Give me the numbers.
Well, that's a crapshoot. All right, buddy. Before we get you
That's
out of here,
what you do for a living. That's what you do. You're a crapshooter.
Yeah. So, who you got on the show tonight?
I've got David Whitley. He's always fun. We'll have our fine young Kyle Curtis, and of course, Lauren Meadows, the coach. We'll talk about what else, Gator football, and lots more. We'll have watched the whole first part of Netflix tonight on the Buddy Martin Show. Don't forget, it's on YouTube now.
Last text here for you from James. He says, "Buddy, do you have a better relationship with Urban or Coach Spurrier?"
I'd say Coach Spurrier. But I'll tell you what, Urban's not been nothing but class to me and everything he's ever done. He's been there. I call him. He takes my calls, does the show. I know he's had some, made some mistakes. Like I said today, and I know I'll get in trouble for this. Although I said in my column, don't write me any political comments. In an era where we got a guy who's running for president, never mind what party it is, with 91 indictments. What about a coach's minor indiscretions? How important can that be? That's all I'm going to say. It's not political. It's just the idea that he's made mistakes. Others have too, by the way, more than you know. So I'm not going to defend Urban in that regard, but I like Urban. He's a good man. I know him. I know about his life and his wife and his whatever. He's made mistakes, but of course, my guy is Steve Spurrier. Always has been, always will be.
So is Urban doing the what's the show on Fox?
Big News Saturday.
So he is back doing that?
Oh, yeah. They've changed. Reggie Bush is gone. They brought in the running back from Alabama, Mark
Ingram?
Mark Ingram, yeah.
Do you think, speaking of Reggie Bush, before we get out, I'm sorry, buddy, do you think he needs to get his Heisman back?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk about conduct and whether guys should get, look at the Hall of Fame in baseball. There's some scoundrels in there. And I think he probably, he should get it back.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no question because, basically paid. I don't know all the details, but it wasn't like he didn't break the law. He didn't kill anybody.
Right. One's selling drugs.
What's happening now is perfectly legal of what Reggie Bush was doing.
Like I said, Shane, minor indiscretions versus a guy indicted 91 times. I'm just saying.
And he was as good a player as I've ever seen.
He was great.
He was unbelievable.
Urban said he liked him a lot. I asked him what happened. He told me off the record. Reggie pushed John with on the money.
That's right. Dan says if Reggie gets his Heisman, Florida gets their SEC championships back.
Well, they got it. They won the New York Times that year. They were number 1. Yeah. Those were some dark days, Shane. You weren't here then.
But I mean, trying to get you off the show here, buddy. My bad. But I got to ask you now because you were here, and I've got some good friends. Whether I played golf with them, I've just gotten to know them. They're part of that 84, 85 teams.
Right. Right.
And they have I don't want to say hatred. What's the right word? They just have
Disdain.
they have a bad
Disdain.
feeling. They have a bad feeling about football program at Florida in the
Interesting.
school because
Why?
nobody celebrates what they did
Well, that's
on the
true.
field. On the field.
That's true.
Do you
That is
think something
true.
needs to be done?
Probably. There needs to be some reparation in that. They've got to start dealing with things like this, the skeletons in the closet. But I will say this: Charlie Pell was one of the biggest influences for good. And you can ask Jeremy Foley, because I wrote a book mentioned this in the Florida football program in history. I didn't know Charlie Pell till afterwards. And then when I met him and talked to him, got to know him, I really liked him a lot. He did, and the guy who was standing in his defense is Steve Spurrier, because he said the one thing they got him for was giving money to a player for his divorce to keep him out of jail, and it was done by a car dealer in Palatka. And according to the rules, Shane, if you have a prior violation, and Steve said if you looked at that envelope, you wouldn't find that. He thinks they got a raw deal on that. Steve Spurrier, the guy who is the most principled person I know in football, defended the program. So there's your start right there.
Yeah, because I know players that played in the NFL for a long time. He's got a bad taste in their mouth.
Neil Anderson,
yeah, he's one of them. There's
yeah.
multiple. I just wish there was something that.
Well, let's get some on the show one day and talk to him and find out why. This needs to be healed.
I've had Ricky Nattil on my program. I've had Neil on my program.
But you didn't ask him about that.
Well, we did a little bit, and they kind of, they're also smart. They don't want to offend a lot of people, but I think it's something that needs to be done. So
listen, a lot of people hate on the guy who won 2 national championships, so correct. Don't feel like you're the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, no doubt. Buddy, good stuff as always. I like the hat and I like the shirt. We'll talk to you next week, my man.
Yes, sir. Good stuff, man. I need to get more of these. Anybody but sell them to me?
Somebody. We'll find somebody.
All right.
All right. That's the great Buddy Martin. You can listen to Buddy on YouTube, Facebook Live, all those different platforms on Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Going to take a quick time out, come back. Got a bunch of texts to get to. Love your comments on Facebook Live. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete Co., Rue's Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point is the flagship restaurant of the Florida Gators, the hottest restaurant in Florida in the heart of Gator Nation. That's Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Check them out at spurriers.com. I'm sure that place will be packed here in the next couple of weeks. We got 3 straight home games. Should be filled up for sure. Got a couple of texts here on the Titan MR text line from Nathan. Says, I love the show. I try to listen every day. But can you tell us a little bit about JC? Is he a Gator football player? No, he's not. JC, I think I've spoken on this before, just so everybody knows, his name is John Cornell. He was the TV20 sports anchor when I played here. Went to Alabama. Their journalism school there, was in school with Reese Davis, who now works for ESPN Game Day. He was in Hattiesburg, came back to grad school at Florida, and then became the TV20 guy, has been a financial planner, got out of that business, but been a financial planner for about 25, 30 years now, but loves sports, has great opinions on things. And so that's why he's a part of our program. But appreciate the text, Nathan. But no, JC was not a football player. I love that. Andy asked on Facebook Live, QB, did you see the Redskins ended one of the strangest streaks in sports, Ravens 24 preseason winning streak? I saw that. And I saw their record after last year's preseason. I was like, what in the world? That's like one of the most phenomenal records I'd ever seen. And then they lose it this year on a game-winning field goal I saw this morning on the highlights, the Redskins kick. But I like the Redskins. I think Sam Howell, boy, they got some players around him. And boy, I watched about 2 series last night, and he threw the ball on time. He was extremely accurate. So we'll see. I didn't know if they would be very good. I think the Eagles will still win that division, but they have a salty defense. Now, they didn't show that last night because I don't know who all played, but if he can play like that, I think the Redskins, Commanders, whatever they're called, I think they're going to go back to the Redskins. Hope they do. Greg wants to know, have they thrown anybody out of the swamp for yelling gator bait? That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that. I don't know how they could, but I think, I said this last year. I don't think anybody dresses up like Mr. Two Bits. I know we went through that period once Mr. Two Bits retired, passed away, that people used to dress up and go to the different sections and do the cheers. I don't think anybody does that anymore. Maybe somebody needs to come out of retirement and do that, or get a student to do it. And then, although these students probably have no idea who Mr. Two Bits is, but why not start the Gator Bait chant in your section? I think we should. Dan says, no, the band doesn't play it. That's true, but you can kind of, you can sing along. Van Der says Lomas will be glad. Lomas has been on my show twice. I talked to Lomas the other day. He is going into the Ring of Honor for the Detroit Lions, if you missed that. Dan says, instead of 2 bits, run around and do Gator Bait. I would agree with that. I like that way more than 2 bits. So Reggie says JC is the best when he is full hot. Need to figure a way to keep him on a soapbox every time he is on. Yeah, he's a piece of work. There's no question about it. Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists to build commercial structure with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. I want to thank Buddy for joining the program. We are 9 days away from Gator football in Salt Lake City. I still don't know the time. Is it an 8 o'clock kick, 8 Eastern? I didn't know if it was 8 or 7 Eastern. Andy asked, Shane, you mentioned your QB coaching yesterday. Besides Luke, quarterbacks have you worked with we might know? So it's 8 o'clock Eastern. Okay, so I worked with Jackson White, who's Brian White's son at Buchholz. He's their all-time leading pastor. Luke's the all-time leading pastor at GHS in Alachua County. I worked with, I'd have to get my list of the kids. The kid that used to play quarterback for Clemson, Kyle Parker, worked with him for many, many years. I just work with I like working with the young kids more. I don't do it anymore. I used to send them to Eric Kresser, let him work them out. We had Tebow, me and Kerwin had Tebow when he was a youngster, tried to change his throwing motion a little bit. Didn't work, but he turned out to be a pretty good player. We had Cornelius Ingram when he was a youngster. He ended up playing tight end. But we coached the quarterback position differently than most people. So anyway, there's that. Dan says 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, good deal. Should be a good night. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't looked at the weather forecast. I probably need to do that so I can start packing. Start packing. We have another text here on the Titan More text line from Jonathan. Jonathan says, Shane, do you really believe, listening to the show yesterday, do you really believe that Billy Napier will play a walk-on quarterback if something were to happen to Graham Mertz? I do believe that. If it's a guy that can run their system and they're comfortable with him, yes. I heard like I told you, I only watched a few series of the game last night, but I guess it was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman doing the game, and they were talking about Ron Rivera that said that like, all these people, just because Sam Howell was a 5th-round draft pick, that people don't think he's very good. And he goes, you got to take the draft pick out of it. Can the guy play or can he not play? And I think a lot of that has to do not only at the professional game, but in college as well. Just because you're a 5-star does not mean you're going to pan out. Now, there's been some that haven't, but just because you're a 2 or 3-star does not mean you can't become a great player. And the greatest quarterback supposedly of all time is Tom Brady, who was 2 or 3-star and 6th-round draft pick. I mean, there's all these different examples, but you want 5-stars, there's no question. But sometimes the people ranking those 5-stars, especially at the quarterback position, get so enamored with the things that don't matter about playing quarterback. I think quarterback sometimes is the hardest position to judge. And we talked about it, I think, on my show or another show. High school sports has ruined the quarterback position because I shouldn't say ruined it, because high school coaches want to win. So a lot of times they just put their best athlete at quarterback, tell them to run around and make plays. And so then it's kind of hard to evaluate, can that guy play quarterback at the next level, or do we need to move him to receivers or DB or somewhere? So we'll see. Andy says Salt Lake City weather next Thursday, sunny and 80-ish. Oh, 80. Okay. But there will not be any humidity, which will be good for sure. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. 1994, DNA testing links O.J. Simpson to the murder of Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman. That happened on this day in 1994, brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Tomorrow's program, don't forget, we'll have JC. We'll do some Peachland Dental golf picks. Although the golf this week, if you're not familiar with the Tour Championship, they already start X number under par. The leader, who will be Scotty Scheffler, starts at 10 under par. Second, I think the number 2 guy is Rory, who's going to be at 8 under. So it's kind of hard to pick golf there. But we got college football to pick. There's college football games this weekend. We'll do that either tomorrow or Friday. But we'll also have Fletcher Westfall, a Gator commit, big offensive lineman, will join the program at 8:30. So make sure you tune in. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.